This is Hot Mic. Hot Mic. On the networks of WDAY. Here's Dom Izzo.
Welcome back, everybody. Hour 2 of Hot Mic, ready to rock and roll here on a busy Thursday morning. Patrick Bath, new NDSU men's basketball transfer, Fargo native, will join us in about a half-hour time. We've got baseball tonight here on WDAY Extra, our final Bison broadcast of the calendar year as North Dakota State wraps up the regular season for Summit League play before the tournament next week down in Tulsa, but they are still fighting for a Summit League championship. We've talked about it all spring long, how wild the league has been, and I think it actually beats what we had in men's basketball this year, because by the time we got to the end, men's basketball sorted itself out. We're at the end, and we don't have any idea of who's even making the tournament yet. It's our pleasure to welcome back NDSU head coach Tyler Oakes to the show. I showed you this. I'll show the audience here. I have a list of about 8 different permutations that could happen this weekend. Do you know any of these, or you don't care?
Thanks for having me on, number one. And two, it's been a crazy ride. Each weekend, things have changed, flip-flopped in the standings, and each game really matters. And so we kind of know the gist of it. I'm not smart enough to figure out all those scenarios even after reading them. So, it's mainly more about us taking care of our business and seeing where the cards may fall from there. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to have. I think we're talking with Miles Johnson, our SID, he said usually it's like a couple sentences long for all the scenarios, and this year it's a full page. So definitely a crazy week, and been a crazy year in the Summit League.
I want to ask, because I had an email about this last week, was there any chance of getting the earlier series with St. Thomas rescheduled, or once you couldn't play it, it wasn't going to happen?
Yeah, so there's a certain date that you have to make them up by, and with all the midweek games and the contracts that we have, there's just nothing in the schedules that we were able to line up, and I don't think either team wanted to, put ourselves in a spot where we're playing a midweek doubleheader and then another midweek game the next day and then a conference series. You're playing way too many games, and talk about kind of the student athlete experience or the health of everyone too, especially throughout the course of a 50-plus game schedule in the spring. It could be a lot. So yeah, there's certain league protocols that you have to go through, but we could just never find the right time or right mix to figure out how to get those games in, which is unfortunate. But at the same time, it is what it is.
Well, since then, though, you took the series from St. Thomas here. You just went to Brookings and won a series. Captain, obvious question, are you playing your best ball right now?
We feel really good about how we're playing, especially it's been not just one or two guys that have stepped up. It's been a collective effort, with some of the injuries that we've dealt with all year, whether on the pitching side or even within our offensive lineup. It's been an opportunity for different guys to get out there. And I think that's one big piece is that we feel pretty good about. It's just our overall depth and feeling comfortable throwing different people out there in different situations, because they have been in those spots throughout the year. And so definitely like how we're playing. I think that, like you said earlier, with the scenarios, you could just never count on one thing happening each day. And so it's for us to go out and continue to play 9 innings collectively of good baseball and see what we can do from there. But definitely like how we're playing. We've only lost, I think, 1 or 2 series all year in the Summit League. And so I give our guys a lot of credit of some of the adversity they faced early with the non-conference schedule, and even being on the road in the early parts of the conference schedule as well, and kind of continuing to plug through and overcome some of the injuries and adversity. It says a lot about our team's character and kind of the environment we have here.
We were following Tyler throughout the season, the standings. I'm like, boy, Oral Robertson last. And now I look at it, here they come. As you look at the standings this morning, they're right there. They're one of the hottest teams going. Was it just a matter of time before they got their act together?
I always thought when we played them both times, they have a ton of talent on their team. They had to replace quite a bit, but they still have guys like Hall and Fowler that anchor their rotation. Patton in the back end that had some College World Series experience of closing out games, all that stuff. And so on paper, they're probably the most talented team in the league. It just, I think, took them some time to gain their identity and what they wanted to do as a group. And You're seeing, I think they've won 4 or 5 of the last series. And so I think they've won 9 of the last 11 games or something like that too. And so they'll definitely be a force when we get to Tulsa, and their pedigree, they're going to be ready to go. And I think if I read the scenarios right, I think there's even a scenario where they can still finish in that 2 spot, and everything too, if things fall their way too. So credit to them for turning it around a little bit, but also I think everyone in the league knew that they have a lot of talented players, that they're a good ball club, and will be someone to be reckoned with, I guess, in the conference tournament too.
For people that don't know, you are down your top 2 pitchers. Everybody that watched Parker Pitts last year, like, holy cow, he's going to be a stud. He threw how many pitches for you this season total?
I think, yeah, the second inning, he hurt himself against the Irvine, so I think it was like in that 30 to 40 pitch
Wow.
range. So yeah, that was a kicker to start off the season. Him being a freshman All-American last year, and really trying to anchor our rotation on the front end, and was hoping for a big year from him. And he had the Tommy John surgery about a month and a half ago now, and so he's going through that rehab process, and we're hoping that with the timing of when we got it done, that he can be back and ready for kind of the beginning parts of next year for sure.
And then Nolan Johnson starts out well for you, and then you get to Tulsa, and he tweaks. So you're down your top 2 starters for basically the entire conference season.
Yeah, and it's crazy because some people might know, like college baseball, you pretty much have your 3, maybe 4 starters, and everyone else you're trying to figure out roles within the bullpen and relief pitching and middle relief closers, all that stuff. And so we've had to mix some things around, and that's where I give our guys credit. Even like Leland Wilson, who's been kind of plugged into the Friday role. You look at his stats; they're not pretty, but he's went out and at least given us a chance. And I think that's all you can ask for. And then we've been able to keep like Logan Knight and Landon Koenig kind of in their Saturday, Sunday spots. And you've seen us maybe lose some Friday games, but then bounce back the next couple games. And even guys like Alex Carnes, I think, has been huge. He's been a guy that we've used in long relief situations where he's been able to go 4 or 5 innings on Fridays in relief and not have to burn the whole pen, and be able to save some guys for the weekend too. So some of those things get lost, but it's definitely been a challenge losing those guys. But at the same time, it's an opportunity for guys to step up and see what they're made of. And I think our guys have done a good job of being resilient and continuing to kind of attack the game and be ready for their time.
One of those guys is Mayville Portland CG's Landon Koenig, who I did a feature on Sunday. A freshman for you, Class B guy. Give us the backstory of finding him and then throwing him in. I mean, he told me he said, "Hey, you're going to start our Sunday game against Irvine." Give us the backstory of finding a guy like Landon.
Yeah, we try to do our best to get out to as many games and events and all that throughout this course of the spring and summer. And he was a guy I actually saw in section playoffs of his junior year, late in the spring. Went up there and got a chance to see him pitch, and he was probably more like the mid 80s, but you can see his frame of being 6'5", 6'6", and 200 plus pounds, and still has a baby face on him and all that stuff, where he's going to continue to grow and get more physical. And so we followed him throughout the course of that summer. He actually came to our prospect camp as well, and pitched extremely well there. It was increased velocity, which we were kind of all hoping to see. And from there, got him on an official visit and got him on board. And so for him to do the things that he's been doing his freshman year is pretty special, especially coming from a smaller town. And he's never made the moment too big. We started him that first week of Irvine, and it's because he deserved it. I think he came in and throughout the fall and throughout the winter workouts and put himself in a spot where he's ready to see what he can do in that type of role. And as we've kind of went through and some of the injuries, he's needed to continue to step up, even being a freshman. And I just think it speaks to his maturity, his compete level, and his kind of flatline personality of not getting too high, too low. That's helped him continue to grow and gain valuable experience throughout the year that hopefully can carry us, through the next couple weeks too.
So last week, Caden Schwabe hit his first collegiate home run. Did you know it was gone when he hit it? What was the bench reaction, the dugout reaction when that happened?
The ball was flying in Brookings that day to right field. So there was a 50-50 shot that any ball that was hit to right field that day was probably getting out. So when he got a decent piece of it, against one of their top
Yeah.
relievers too. The right fielder didn't move much, and so it wasn't hit very high, but it was hit hard. But when the outfielder didn't move, you knew it was gone, and it was a cool moment for him. And I think he rounded third base, telling Coach Hunt that it was about time too. So he's a great kid and been a great leader for our team, and plays the game the right way, and kind of is our heartbeat within our lineup, within our team, the way he plays defense and the things that he can do offensively. So it was a cool moment for him to have, and it was a big hit at the right time too, where it was a 3-run shot to give us the lead and find a way to win that game too. So yeah, definitely happy for him, and we'll see if he can add another couple yet in the next couple weeks too.
I got to ask about another North Dakotan, and Garrett Hill, and he had back-to-back walk-off hits. You've been around a long time. Have you seen a guy do that consecutively on back-to-back days to win a game?
I don't think I have.
Uh,
It's pretty special, and a lot of things got to line up in order for that to happen on back-to-back days. Maybe you see it within a week span, or
right.
uh, every other day or something like that, a Friday to Sunday. But back-to-back days against the same pitcher too. It's kind of like deja vu a little bit within that. But he's been another guy that has been chomping at the bit for his opportunities early. They were a little bit scarce, and to his credit, he stayed ready. And we've been playing him at different spots too, whether it be the outfield, first base. Now he's been playing third base with Jack Style out, and so he's been a great guy to have in our lineup, and guy that we can put at some different spots and feel really good about defensively as well. And for him to have those moments too, those senior moments that you talk about and making winning plays. Was definitely fun to be a part of, and fun to see him be successful in those situations too.
We featured Sam Canton a couple times as well, because twice this year he has thrown out a guy at the plate. Obviously, to win the game against the Jacks. I think he did it in Tulsa as well. Give us how you. I mean, he came from Gonzaga. For people that don't know, they know him basketball wise. Are they good in are they a pretty good baseball program as well?
Yeah, they've done a nice job the last 8-10 years. I think they've been to a couple regionals. They're kind of similar to us in the way they schedule non-conference too. Their
Okay.
non-conference is pretty loaded and challenging themselves early. But they have a pretty really solid baseball program, and we've had some ties with Stephen Lund, the grad transfer from Gonzaga last year, knew Sam. And so when Sam was in the portal, he had nothing but great things to say about him, and we had a need for an outfielder, and Sam's done a great job. I think he's been the only guy right now that started every game or played every
Wow.
game. He's a great defender in the outfield, not only throwing, but he can run it down and glides out there pretty easily. And then he's been a guy that we've placed in different spots throughout the order, whether it's the 2 spot, the 4, 5, 6. And so he just has added another layer of kind of that experience, especially at the Division I level, to come in. And I think he's been more than ready for this opportunity to go out and showcase his skill set. And he's definitely made some huge winning plays for us.
Couple of questions left here with T.O. before we let him go. I want to take you back a couple weeks to the Iowa game. You almost had more runs in that than the football game did. I know you've heard this joke before, than the Bison Hawkeye football game a few years ago. When you're in the dugout, do you get a sense when you get 6 runs in the first inning and then they come back, you just like, all right, buckle up, boys. This is going to be one of those kind of games. Is that all you can do as a coach?
Pretty much. Yeah. I think Iowa plays pretty offensive typically too, especially from my time as a player
Right.
and short as a coach at Minnesota. It's always been a place that seems that like you can score runs quickly there and get some balls out of the ballpark. And so yeah, the 6 spot, and then they come back, and then I think we had a couple more 4 or 5 spots, and then it's a midweek game, so you're limited with some of the pitching that you have, and so you're like, how do we scrape out a few more outs out of this guy? And I think they were in the same boat too. Of they played a midweek game the day before, so it was definitely a crazy game, back and forth, and glad that we scored as many runs as we did because we needed every bit of them. But it kind of was that day that I think helped flip our offense and get our
Yeah.
stride a little bit too, and continue to believe in what we're doing since we had been scuffling from a consistency standpoint. I think it was nice for some guys like Will Bush to get a couple big hits and some RBIs, and ever since then he's been gotten going and swinging a better bat at the bottom of our order. And Colton Becker had a good day there too, and so it got some guys going in the right direction, I think, and continuing to kind of believe in what we're doing offensively.
Well, 5 of the last 6 games, you scored at least 5 runs, so certainly something happened out of that game.
Yeah, and I think it's just, there's so much video and scouting now, and everyone knows so much about each other that sometimes we dive too much into that and forget to just get into compete mode. And I know that's something that our coaching staff has continued to will our players on. It's just like go out and have a really competitive at bat, and not maybe worry so much about what he might be throwing in situations and getting too analytical. And same thing on the pitching side too, of just going and executing the things that you're really good at. And so I think we've been hitting a positive stride, and we've gotten to a point now where we have 3, 4, 5 guys clicking at the same time within the lineup, and that's something that is going to hopefully continue to propel us.
Hey, before I let you go, did you see where Aaron Judge hit the ball last night at Target Field?
Yeah, it was about as high as the outfielder for the Twins threw that baseball too, and he didn't know how many outs there was. So, yeah, that was quite an impressive performance there, swinging the bat.
Okay, so as a former pitcher, who hit the furthest home run off of you? Do you remember?
There's a lot. There's a lot. I gave up my fair share. The ones I'll tell you this: the ones that drive you nuts the most is like I was pitching at Dallas Baptist, and just hoping and praying I could get through an inning there, and they hit a couple fly balls that hit the top of the wall. In the same inning, 2 home runs hit the top of the wall and then bounced over. Those probably hurt more than the ones that go 450 feet or anything like that. So I can't specifically say one, but I gave up plenty during my time. That's for sure.
Do you know when you let it go, like, that's going to get hammered?
Probably, yeah. You get to a point where you leave something over the middle of the plate, especially to good hitters. And there's a couple times that like Ole Miss, and I even remember my first outing at Florida State as a freshman. Fell behind their 4-hitter 2-0, and then it was still back where you had to throw the intentional walk pitches.
Okay.
So my first ever hitter, I fell behind 2-0. 14 in the dugout goes, let's walk this guy. So my first ever outing, I'm sitting there trying to throw an intentional walk to load the bases, I think, and get through a situation there. So there's always those moments that you reflect on. And but yeah, I definitely gave up my fair share of home runs thrown over the middle of the plate too much. But it's fun stories to tell too at the same point.
It's great to see you, man. Thanks so much for the time. Look forward to seeing you at the ballpark tonight. Thanks for the time as always.
Yep, thank you. Appreciate it.
There he goes. Tyler Oaks, NDSU head baseball coach, joining us. Bison and Northern Colorado, the Bears coming up tonight. You can watch it live right here on WDAY Extra. Coverage begins at 6:30. I could spend at least a half hour trying to go through all this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not even going to do it on the broadcast tonight. Here's what I can tell you. This is what the Bison need to win the league. If the Bison sweep Northern Colorado, they need St. Thomas to go either 1-2 or 0-3, and they're playing Oral Roberts this weekend in St. Paul. If the Bison go 2-1 against Northern Colorado, they need St. Thomas to get swept, and Omaha would need to lose 1 in its series against the Jacks. If the Bison lose 2 out of 3, it's over. They can't win the league. Now, I had 2 questions about this before we go. If St. Thomas ends up winning the conference, we know they're ineligible for the conference tournament. But that also means they cannot host it next year. So the second place team would end up hosting in 2025. So if NDSU ends up finishing second, they would host next year's Summit League tournament at Newman Outdoor Field. Obviously, they're going for the top spot. They want to win the league. They're going to Northern Colorado. You can see where they're at. Their pitching numbers have been affected clearly because of where they play. The Bison should have swept the Bears earlier this season. They lost in a walk-off in the first game of that series, but they scored over 11 runs in the other 2 games. I have a feeling we might see a high-scoring game tonight. We'll see, but looking forward to that broadcast coming up later tonight. We'll take a break. We come back. We'll show you the primetime games for the NFL season ahead. Who has the most? No surprise in a couple of teams. We'll do that. We roll on to this Thursday morning. We're back after this.